live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Mick Strawn.
We watched Dracula 1931 and the Spanish Dracula
version,
yes.
which was done. You know what? I think that we need to explain.
Yes.
How this all happened. I mean, I don't know a great deal about it.
I know how it happened.
Okay.
They just wanted money.
I'll bet you.
They're like,
how can we cash in on this?
Actually, the thing is right about this time.
Right after Frankenstein.
Right after Frankenstein, there was a blossoming of South American films and stars coming from America were kind of like getting in Carmen Miranda, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Getting popular and stuff.
And so they came up with this concept.
It was a great idea.
It was a great idea. They were going to use the same
how
sets.
Bad are overdub stuff sometimes.
Right. They were going to use the same sets. And
why don't they do that nowadays?
At night they would do the... well, it's because they don't have a studio system anymore to actually make these big decisions.
Right.
But what they decided to do is they would use the same sets.
How awesome would it be? Bad Times at Camino Royale with an all Hispanic cast.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing.
So anyway, sorry.
So they decided that at night they would give it to the Mexican crew, and
which is amazing because they actually had some shots that had to be during the day.
Well, yeah, they did, but you have to remember this and Frankenstein were shot at the same time, and they pretty obviously used some of the same
sets,
village.
Yeah.
Well, they used the same village.
Yeah.
I mean, that was obvious. But the castle and stuff was not the same sets, but they did use it for the two films together. And you know what? I thought to myself, wow, these sets are enormous. For basically
especially the staircase.
Yeah, the Dracula staircase, the two staircases.
And they used them differently though.
Yeah,
they
did.
Used the same set but differently.
Well, they used no, they did. The shots were different. What was interesting?
It was basically the same.
But the thing is because they had the two films going on those interior sets, I think that gave them more latitude, a little bit more money that they could expand the sets because pretty obviously those staircases were amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to measure it, the side one that came down like this.
Yeah.
I was trying to measure like a person in there.
Well, when they laid her on the staircase at one point.
Right, for the width of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the staircase in itself was the set.
Yeah, it was huge.
And it was like, the closest I could get is that maybe it was like 50 feet high, which I know that Universal was always well known for having the tallest stages.
It was huge, yeah.
And
there's a shot at the end of the Spanish one.
Right.
Where you could see the doctor down at the bottom and
Right, and she's up at
the top. She was way at the top, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the staircase that they used. That was the side staircase, and then they had another staircase that was a head-on staircase.
Right.
And both of those...
Opening shot.
The opening
where
shot.
You see him coming down.
Yeah, and they used the same thing in both of the movies, and obviously they put the budget for two movies in those staircases, because otherwise, why the hell would you just make an enormous staircase like that for... I mean,
right.
Enormous.
Well, they doubled their money by doing a Spanish version.
Well, they absolutely did. They absolutely did.
I don't know why there weren't more movies like this from the 30s.
Well... Anyway, so...
Why isn't there La Mummy? Or El Mummy, or whatever.
La Mummy. So
this is funny. Here's the description for the English one.
An ancient vampire, Count Dracula, arrives in England and begins to prey upon a virtuous young Mina.
And then the Spanish one was...
Centuries old, Dracula preys upon the innocent Eva.
They changed her name.
Oh, well...
And then there was Juan instead of Jonathan.
You know what I thought was funny is Renfield.
Renfield.
It was the same in both.
Well, what's funny is that there were a couple... I mean, the director was obviously not Hispanic, right?
Oh, no, it's a whole different...
And then there was Barry Norton. He kind of sticks out in the Spanish cast.
Right, yeah, well, but...
But I'm like, so it wasn't an all Hispanic cast.
Well, you know what I thought was funny? And let's compare these straight across. Well, first of all, I want to do a review of Dracula.
Well, first, I love Dracula because I hadn't seen the Spanish one until you told me about it.
Right.
But I love this. I love the Dracula. I've always watched it, and partly because I have a fondness for the book.
Okay.
And I like it a lot more than Frankenstein, the book.
Oh, okay.
And I've read both of them, but Frankenstein wasn't as awesome as Dracula to me.
I cannot even remember. I mean, I read Frankenstein so long ago.
It was written by a teenage girl.
Yeah.
No.
Mary Shelley.
No,
yeah,
they're both good, but it's like, I think I enjoyed Dracula more partly because I like the book, but also I just like... I didn't like Dracula just because I didn't like the style of doing it by letters, and I'm not. I like how Bela Lugosi, just how he moves in this one.
Bela Lugosi,
and then his facial expressions. It's just everything's amazing about his performance.
His performance is amazing,
and he actually
Dracula.
looks like a bat in some cases where he uses his cape.
Right.
Like, and the Mexican Dracula didn't really do that as much. Like,
well, I think the Mexican Dracula. They both had different cape styles.
Yes, definitely.
Because the Mexican Dracula did use the cape quite a bit to like completely cover things,
yes.
And but Bela Lugosi wasn't about to cover up his golden, glorious being.
I wasn't much of a fan of I didn't really like the Spanish Dracula. I liked Renfield more.
I liked Renfield
a lot more.
Funny, I wrote that in here. I said I liked Renfield more.
Oh, and I definitely like Eva a lot more than Mina. Oh my God.
Yeah,
sorry. Got a little excited there. No, but I liked her a lot better. Plus, she had a little bit more range as an actress. She started off. I think she did a lot better because like the Mina in the English Dracula was just kind of.
Yeah, but she did have beautiful eyes.
But she had this girl had more range of expression.
Right, she really did.
Amazing. Yeah,
and her breast had a huge range of expression.
And she had
nipples.
I notated that the wardrobe was a lot more sexy.
It was. I mean, there was
there was almost a see-through outfit.
There was, and I was all for that.
Which is actually why I kind of watched this one twice to kind of catch that again.
So
I didn't like the music they put on this. This must have been the 99. The one I watched was probably the one they did in 1999, the restoration one where they put Philip Glass over it.
Oh, did they really? No, I had the original.
Oh, see, I was watching the Philip Glass version.
I wanted to get you over the original, but last night being Halloween, I just couldn't get to it until I couldn't even get to see it until
I would have enjoyed it more. So
you would have. This
is the first time I've actually watched the Philip Glass one, so I was like, because
I have the Wolfman, I have Bride of Frankenstein, I have the original Frankenstein, and I have this one, and I have the Invisible Man.
Invisible Man is awesome.
Yeah. So I have all those in really nice DVD copies. So
cool.
We're gonna cover all that stuff. Okay. Let me talk about the beginning of Dracula that I didn't catch in Dracula, but I did catch in the Spanish one because the shot was a lot longer. Was the possum at the beginning and the spider.
Well, the one in the Spanish one
had their own coffins.
Fell off the coffin. Yeah.
They had their own coffins.
Well, they had it. They had their own coffin at the beginning. I mean, the other one too. It wasn't as long of a shot. I just didn't get it. Yeah, it wasn't as long of a shot, and I didn't. I thought, they're just above a baby's coffin. And then I realized when the spider had the coffin and it was a longer shot on the Spanish one, I was like, you mean they gave the spider a coffin? I was like, that really doesn't work for me. But how awesome was the spider going up the wall?
Yeah.
That was freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was.
I pointed out the fact that the cinematography overall I think was better in the Spanish one.
It was. Yeah. It was. The dolly shot or whatever. The dolly shot of coming in looking at Dracula at the beginning. If they had that dolly shot with the other one.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm telling you that would have been chilling. Bela Lugosi.
So the Bela Lugosi, the Spanish one, I actually wrote down. This is what actually my first impression of him was. I said I don't like the Dracula very much. It looks like a scared Andy Kaufman, or better yet, Andy Kaufman's creepy uncle.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Well, you know what they said? They said about. I read some of the background on Bela Lugosi, and it was interesting that he was very popular in his country, which I cannot right now remember which one it was, but it was one of the Eastern European countries. Yeah. And he comes over here just at the wrong time, just about 5 years before the end of silent movies, right? And he starts by acting in silent movies and becomes like a gangster. He's cast pretty often as a gangster kind of guy because he had that look. But then sound came along.
Oh, yeah, and the accent.
He literally couldn't speak English. In this case, he was coached per
line.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell that.
Yeah, and you really could tell.
But his accent really helps the...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. But it so helps the character, right?
Yeah, totally. I also like the doctor in the Spanish one better because he kind of reminded me of Mandy Patinkin.
Really? The doctor or Van Helsing?
Yeah, Dr. Van Helsing.
Dr.
In
Van
the
Helsing.
Spanish one, I thought he was Mandy Patinkin.
I have to tell you, I didn't know.
Patinkin. I can never pronounce his name right. Anyway, the guy, I like him.
That guy. Well,
glasses.
Yeah, I was going to point out the glasses, the thick glasses.
The thick glasses.
What I did like, I like better in the English version is the glasses were tinted. And it made made that dark, and it made him kind of look like an evil rock star in a weird way.
He just kind of was I just didn't like the doctor as much. I don't know why. I don't really have a reason other than I guess maybe it's because he doesn't remind me of the other.
I love the character of Van Helsing though.
Yeah. The book, he was an amazing character in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was like it's been a long time since I read that book, but
I mean, the thing is he's a science badass.
Yeah, totally.
He really was.
I like when he said, "I'm gonna find your box. And I'm gonna jam
That's right.
I'm gonna jam a stake through your heart.
And here's my cross.
Bela Lugosi was like, "Come here,
come here." And he goes, no.
And the doctor just stood there like a badass.
You have the strongest willpower.
Yes, he just stood there like a badass.
Then he hits him with the cross. Gotcha. I did like the windowless transportation. When he trades over to the coach, and then the coach gets there at the castle and doesn't have a driver. Yeah. That was great. Absolutely great. I mean, just perfection.
Yeah. Well, I like when they're being knocked around and he looks out.
There is something. And you know what? It's really funny. We've been talking about horror films, and we've been talking about cobwebs, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm talking how I like the dusted cobwebs. They were so thick. But did you catch at the beginning when Lugosi goes up the stairs, and he goes, "Did you catch that?" He goes through the cobwebs. Yeah. He goes through the cobwebs without disrupting them, and then the guy has to knock him down with his cane.
Yeah,
I thought that was really a cool shot. I mean, it wasn't a special effect or anything
it was cool.
like that.
I like that. Yeah.
It was just cool that it was cutaway like that, and it was like, yeah, well, I got through there. Come on, dude.
And then the Spanish one was too long. I thought it was like 30 minutes longer, and it does take longer to translate. I know, because I've written radio spots for a 30-second spot has to be written 26 seconds because it takes longer for the words.
You know what? It always depends on which way you go.
Yeah.
Right? Whichever way you're going to is always longer than the from.
Right.
It's because you have to explain that which...
Well, there's more... It seemed like there was more exposition in the Spanish one.
There always is.
Where they were talking a lot.
Well...
but I don't speak Spanish, so I watched this with no subtitles.
Well, the funny thing is, I have done a lot of things in Spanish before, and somebody explained it to me once that Spanish, our language is more Germanic, and Germanics have a word for everything.
Yeah,
Latin languages don't. And they express things.
There's also more syllables, generally.
Right. Generally, there's more syllables, and they have to go a longer way around in order to explain, in order to describe things.
So it's almost like you speak a different language than I do. Sorry, I had to go there. Oh, so
wow!
Here's one example.
So wait a minute. so in this example, who's Spanish and who's English?
I don't know. Maybe I tend to talk faster though. I think.
Yeah, you did talk.
So I have one example of how they lengthen something to the detriment of it in the Spanish one. So
I thought all the bedroom stuff was just.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to hang myself.
Stuff and
yeah, it depends.
Nightgown, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so there's the scene with the mirror, The little box with the mirror.
Right.
So in this English one, he opens it and he hisses and just knocks it away.
That's right.
The Spanish one,
it almost turned.
He opens it and he stares at it for like 10 seconds, and then he goes. Then he shakes his fist like, and then he hits it with a cane. But I'm like, that was like 3 minutes long.
It was. No, I agree.
I thought that ruined that scene for me. But
so Renfield. Renfield was a great character through the whole. I mean,
well, in both, he was good in both.
He was good in both. I mean, he was good. He was the.
But the Spanish one had Al Pacino.
Yeah, it was like.
He was like,
"Come and meet my little friend."
I like how he got totally like maniacal.
That guy went way out there. He really did. Well,
the girl that played Eva also went really maniacal at some point. She got a little crazy.
Right.
And I thought that's what I'm saying. Like the English one didn't go so far.
Yeah. No, you're right. But at the same time, Bela Lugosi was just moment for minute. It's really funny because the way that he moved was so calculated and so perfect. And there was just one scene at the very end of it where he's carrying her body, where he kind of goes into a run, and when he does, you kind of go, "Oh,
right,
it's not moving right." Yeah, it didn't seem right.
Well, I was like, Bela Lugosi. There's a shot where he was standing in the doorway when Renfield's telling a story about 10,000 rats.
Yeah. Oh,
there's this great shot.
Yeah, I gave you. You were gonna give me 10,000 rats, and all I got was flies.
And then the way they killed off Renfield in both of them was different, and that was interesting because just the way he strangled him and threw him.
Oh, right.
In the English one, he just kind of rolled down the steps.
And
I like
the Spanish one better. He goes right off.
Throws him right off, and I was like, I hope they had something.
Well, I mean,
that was a dummy.
Yeah, it was a dummy.
But anyway. And rubber bats. I mean, I love rubber bats. That was the only thing I thought was kind of a little dated, cheesy. But
well, what's great is that there's something about it that it kind of looks like the body. It kind of looks like the opposite of how it should, right? The body is always going up and down. The wings are kind of like
just kind of
staying there like this, and you always look at it and go, well, why aren't the wings flapping instead of the body?
And do you know how many times I've watched Dracula when I was a teenager, and I would wish I could just stare through a window and get a woman to do anything I wanted?
I was gonna say, and if you'd seen the Spanish one, you would have seen it a lot more, I'm sure. The daughter had amazing eyes. I thought the girl had amazing eyes in the English girl in Dracula. In Dracula, I thought she couldn't act her way out of a thimble, but at the same time. I love the character actor that played the sanitarium worker.
Oh yeah.
I think that.
Well, I thought that the workers were better in the English one. Spanish one was a little goofy.
They were very typical, goofy Spanish comedy. Comedy relief.
Speaking of eyes,
I think
Bela Lugosi with the shimmer on his eyes, the light.
Yeah.
I was like, why did they do that exactly? I couldn't figure out why.
Well,
I mean, you really need them.
Well, see, and they were playing with.
You didn't need the light.
I've explained to you about the twinkle.
Yeah.
How you get the twinkle by putting a light right above the lens, and you could tell that they were experimenting with that all the way through.
And I like how they kind of missed his eye at one point. It was like down here, like on his chin. But it just, I don't know, it took a little bit away from me. Like, I've always wondered about that. I'm like, why do they have a light on his eyes?
Well, one of the interesting things is I was talking, or not talking to, but I was perusing through some of Roy Wagner's the DP, going through some of his. He's an equipment collector. He collects antique film equipment, and one of the things that he's got these rings that they used to use that were cuckolorises for faces.
Oh,
so they would change the shapes, and you could put these little divider pieces in. So it came in a ring like this, and so you put a light behind it, and you got this ring, and you pointed it at the face, and then you had all these little flags inside of that ring that you could move around, that some of them were half screens, so very, very intense. So that you would sit there and you would just develop the lighting for a particular face, which is something that you saw really often with those black and white shots. Some of the glamour shots and stuff were obviously, very long and involved lighting setups.
Plus, they use a lot of like soft focus too, when they're showing women looking,
Right, exactly.
Close-ups of women.
Yeah,
close-ups of women talking to you.
Close-ups of women. Yes. Oh, by the way, Van Helsing. So just out of curiosity, and maybe you'll understand this better than I do. Van Helsing has his own movie later on. There's a series with Van Helsing. That's the same Van Helsing, I take it.
Is it? I haven't seen.
Van Helsing? The name Van Helsing.
Van Helsing. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is that descendants of this Dr. Van Helsing?
Yeah, Van Helsing. Yeah, because there's a movie called Van Helsing.
Yeah,
and there's also and
he comes up in several.
Any movie with Dracula has Van Helsing.
Has a Van Helsing.
Like even the one from the 90s.
Right.
Actually, that one's a pretty good one too, I think.
Right.
But anyway.
But I'm saying is that.
I thought you were talking about the actor was the same actor for like the sequels to Dracula.
Yeah, no, the same actor as in the 2000 version of Van Helsing. They froze him in eye. Okay, well, I just wanted to know. It was a Frankenstein thing, right? Okay, got it. Okay. He's crazy. Crazy.
Oh, yeah, some of the things they said were funny.
I love the way that he said, he's crazy. Superstition of yesterday is the science of today. Flies ain't good enough.
Flies ain't good enough. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because he was moving on to rats.
I like the scene where he catches the fly, the Spanish Renfield. It was really funny how he caught the fly.
Oh,
and he was like,
one thing that I love the ship. And the Spanish ship, the shots on the Spanish ship were so much better than the shots on the English ship.
Yeah. Actually, I noticed a difference there.
It was amazing that the guys on the wheel and the guy and then the Mexican Renfro is screaming out the window.
Yeah, out the window.
Just like going like this, and the next shot that they cut to is just the shadow of the guy on the wheel. Which they used exactly the same shot.
The same shot in
both of them.
But yeah, you're right. It was,
but they set it up much better on the Spanish.
Did they watch during the day, like to see what they could do differently?
Well, you know what? It really makes me wonder. Did they watch each other's versions and who shot first?
Yeah, and they also showed the puncture shots, the puncture wounds in a lot more detail.
Yeah, in the Spanish one. Yeah. Now, who went first?
I don't know. It's a good question. I thought you told me they shot this at night or something. So
they did shoot it. Well, yeah, but come on, in natural order. I mean, you would have to get out of sync eventually.
There was something that Renfield said that I thought was.
There was some great.
I can't find.
There were some great painted backdrops.
Oh, did Renfield come in at some point and say, "Is this a conversation that normal people should be having," or something?
Yeah, something like that. I remember
that was really. I mean, coming from who it was coming from was hilarious to me. Like it was just like.
I love the interior of the whole driving up in the coach in both of them, where it's just there's no driver anymore. Ugh, that's great. Spanish. Did you notice that this is great? There was a girl. An extra girl in the Spanish at the very beginning when they're in the stagecoach, because there's you remember there was that sort of like he falls against the girl and then he falls against the girl again and all the way through it she's got a pamphlet. Like an advertising pamphlet from and it says Transylvania across it.
Right. I
thought that was great. I was like, yeah. So she's a tourist, obviously a tourist,
or she could have been the welcoming committee. Hey, welcome to Transylvania. Here's a brochure. There's also like immediately the first 5 minutes I noticed something different in the Spanish one for sure.
Right.
was they immediately brought up religion. Like there was somebody praying.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they had a rosary. Then they had a cross. and all this other stuff.
Also, the creaking of the doors was enormous, and all the crosses in the Spanish one were wooden. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
They weren't silver. The other cross was a couple of them were silver. One of them was something else, but they were obviously metal, and all the ones on the Spanish side were wooden.
And it seemed like the Spanish one, they wrapped up the end a little too quick. Like,
well, yeah, they didn't break up. All of a sudden he just stabs him. It's like, wow, we're done with this. Yeah. Plus the coffin was already open.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? I mean, and there wasn't two coffins.
Right.
She was supposed to be in one from another.
It was just kind of there.
Well, the thing is it had already gone on for. I mean, they were obviously a little bit heavy on the. They're a little bit heavy on the whole
time.
Yeah.
Well, the Spanish one it almost looked like Spanish Dracula was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna give up and let him kill me." That's what it seemed. You know what I mean? Just all of a sudden he's just laying there.
That's right. Yeah, they were just trying to just sum it up. One thing that's really kind of I've noticed over the years in translations is that the sounds of things are different. Right? In other words, like if sound people do a barking dog in Mexico, it'll sound different.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you.
I noticed that with European films for sure. Like,
yeah. Right. No, but it's with any country. And I kind of attribute it to this. I attributed it to the fact that I think that people societally, as a society, it's like shots that are in that are in 3-camera shows, right? There are things that evolved in the 3-camera shows that nobody does. Nobody did in comedies, right? That have evolved even since the 70s that we laugh at immediately as being comedy situations that aren't comedy situations. They've just been played that way so many times. And I think that it happens that way with sound. Like for instance, there's a sound that you hear a lot if you're in Mexico, is, and they're trying to get your attention, right? And you don't hear it here, but you hear it if you're like in Mexico. And I just noticed that film takes that sound and then replaces again and again and again and again until it doesn't have any relationship. And in this one, I can tell you the opening of doors does not sound the same.
Right, yeah.
Did you notice that?
I didn't really notice that, no.
Oh, it was...
I noticed the creaking when the coffin opened a little bit more.
Everything creaked.
Oh, the big door creaked, yeah. The big, huge door.
Really creaked. But did you notice that the stagecoach doors creaked? Everything creaked. and it wasn't like our creak. It was a little bit more like an actual... grating. Yeah. It sounded more like picking up a metal grate and pulling it across asphalt. And the thing is I've noticed that sounds are regional. You know?
If you do animal sounds with kids, they're going to sound differently.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, that's definitely for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was just some of the things that I've noticed. Maybe
doors sound differently depending on where you are on the equator line.
Well, I think it is the equator. I think it's
kind of like when you flush toilets in Australia.
Well, I think that they open like to the right up here and then to the left down in Mexico.
So did the original have Swan Lake? Is that what the original?
Yeah.
So that would be the opening song. Is what I was thinking. I was trying to remember what song they played.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Philip Glass one is the one I saw for sure.
Oh, okay.
I was just looking for the.
No, it was
trivia that I don't.
It was literally the Swan Lake, like you could almost hear the needle pop.
Right? Yeah, you can actually. You can hear the crackling a little bit. Where's the trivia for the Spanish one?
Pretty good imitation right there. Oh. Dracula, the Legacy Collection. It didn't include the straight English. That's true. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Is there? I've looked around and tried to find the Spanish version that's got a English translation, and there isn't one.
Oh,
it's never been done. I mean, that I know of.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. I have a problem with that. Because I watched it right after I watched the
English one. Yeah, absolutely no problem. You totally clued into what was and
so that maybe that's why I didn't notice the doors as much, because I wasn't really.
Because you just weren't listening. You just didn't care. You didn't care.
Well, I liked hearing Renfield doing his weird noises.
The wolves. Oh, what? The children of the night.
Yes.
The wolves, the children of the night.
So for me, I like the English one a lot more, just because of Bela Lugosi was the main reason.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Yeah, I thought Bela Lugosi
and it was short enough. It wasn't too long.
I thought that really the camera work on the Spanish one was better. I thought some of the shots were actually better, but overall they
should remake this and have Dracula played by Bill Skarsgård, and then have Al Pacino as Renfield.
Yeah.
He might be too old now, but I was thinking 1970s Al Pacino would be
too
perfect.
Bad Marty Feldman's dead.
Marty
Feldman would be an amazing Renfield.
And Mandy Patinkin for the Doctor.
There you go for the Doctor.
But, the other guy, oh God, what's his name? He was on oh shit, never mind.
Okay.
He played Adams, John Adams. He would be kind of a cool Doctor. No, like the president.
Oh, the president, John Adams. I don't know.
I'm forgetting his name.
I don't know nothing about birthing no babies. Okay, so where are you going with this? I mean, what do you think?
What did I give Frankenstein? What did I give it? Oh, I'll give it 4.5.
You do a 4.5?
I would give this a 4.6 because it's Dracula, and I like Bela Lugosi better than. I just like.
I like
Frankenstein.
I like Frankenstein.
I'm partial to the
I still like Frankenstein a lot better. I'm gonna have to go with a 4.
Oh, so I'm going 4.6 on this.
Well,
because
there you go.
I've seen it 500,000 times, and I still don't get tired of watching it. I mean, if it's on TV, I'll watch it. I was trying to think of that guy, Paul Giamatti. He'd be like an interesting Renfield, I think, or a Doctor. He can go either way.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I decided to point that out.
So, yeah,
and the other Spanish one. What would you rate the Spanish one?
The Spanish one, probably a 3. Because the thing is Bela Lugosi is Dracula.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
if you'd never seen the Bela Lugosi one, I think I'd probably rate it the same, about 3. But maybe 3.2 just because I like cinematography more.
I think it's so cool. You know, I've talked before about how when I was working in Hollywood and doing as many horror films as I did, how it was a community of people. I mean, it was all the same people. I knew all the special effects people. You always dealt with the same, makeup effects people. In the DPs and so forth. And you were just like kind of stewing around and going from one to the other.
Wasn't that how you got jobs? You had a network, right?
So that's part of it. Yeah. Well, and the first thing they ask you is, what's the last thing you did, and it's always like another horror film,
right.
or it's a science fiction film, and if you're trying to do something serious, and they ask you something like, well, yeah, but sure you can do a tight 20-foot long that looks like it's 60-foot long interior stairway forced perspective, but can you do a living room?
Right.
and that
shows how versatile you were.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well,
you did living rooms for bad TV movies.
That's right. Yeah, good. So anyway, you become the people that are working the neighborhood. Even I would think like some of the stars like William Butler. Think of how many horror films he worked on, right? Mm-hmm. Think of how some of the horror queens, how many they would... Think of the mothers. I was trying to think of the woman's name that just did the one mother after the other in horror films. Bah, 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 bah.
I know who you're thinking of.
Right.
And she was in that Australian one, right?
Right, in the Australian one.
And I can't remember her name.
Of course
she was in a bunch of them.
Right. But...
Almost as much as Lynn Shay.
Yeah, Lynn Shay, for instance.
Still in movies.
Still in horror films. But the thing that I was pointing out is look at Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff, mm-hmm. and you can throw in any of a whole
Lon Chaney,
any of a whole Lon Chaney Jr.
Well, yeah,
because Lon Chaney was not a contemporary really of theirs. Lon Chaney Jr. Think of that they did the same thing. You know, they all switched roles constantly. You know, amongst the Wolfman, mm-hmm. The mummy, the monster, the vampire, through their entire careers. Right. I mean, you know, for all the way from the mid-20s all the way up to when the 50s, all of them died, the 50s and the 60s. Well, I think Boris Karloff went until the 60s. Yeah. And I know that...
did he ever appear on Laugh-In?
Good question. Well, Boris Karloff was always busy. Yeah. The difference was Bela Lugosi had some personal problems, and
I keep thinking about Ed Wood. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that was his life. Which
was a fantastic movie, by the way. I haven't seen that for so long.
Right. But you know what? Here's the thing is, and you think about this, is Bela Lugosi started working with Ed Wood at the same time that Boris Karloff actually started working with Roger Corman.
Ah.
So
that's totally different.
You had the guys that worked schlock, you know, were... they stayed in it, and this is what I say when I say that we were working horror and we were just we were right above porn and just underneath lawyers, right? And I say that I say look back at these guys who stayed in the same
typecasted kind of.
Typecasting, but even budgetarily, you know, that the only big budget stuff that ever came out of any of these was the ones that we're looking at here.
Yeah, the early ones,
those the real early ones.
So they missed the boat in the 50s. They could have had like an Expendables kind of thing with, like, you know, Lon Chaney Jr., Boris Karloff.
Well, how about all the comedy?
Oh, the Abbott and Costello.
Abbott and Costello.
Yeah. Okay. So they kind of.
So they actually did.
But how cool would it have been, like, see them all kicking ass though? Like, see, I still have that dream.
You're.
It's my dream. Same dream I have.
You're a producer. Yeah. At least up through the 80s and 90s, it was the same thing. It was this group that, you know, that could look down on porn stars, but had to look up to lawyers and run their entire careers that way.
Well, horror's still kind of the same way, isn't it? But isn't horror kind of the same, like, in the same boat still?
It is. Well,
pretty much.
It is in the same boat, but the thing is it has been elevated.
It has a huge following, though.
It has a much huger...
And the huge following in the 70s and 80s are now the directors now.
Right, exactly. It was the second golden age, as they say. The 80s were the second
younger
golden
people like me that are brilliant. Of course, I haven't done any films, but anyway, you got the idea.
Yeah, I did. Well, you know, it's funny right now.
I've only done documentaries.
Right now, if you look at my computer, I've got more horror films scripts than I have ever had in my life on my computer right now, and they just keep coming in, and 3 or 4 of them are just amazing. I mean, just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I've got a great Rob Zombie kind of a thing on my computer. A wonderful, a couple of wonderful.
We'll have to talk about, like, young filmmakers at some point.
Well, yes, definitely, and I will bring them all.
Because I have some ideas. But we'll get to that later.
Oh, God. You're not going to bring that up,
once again, I'm a producer. I have some ideas for a show.
You are, yeah.
For part of our show.
Oh, please.
But no, people will love it. I guarantee it. So I'm just my tease for later.
This is the tease. Yeah.
Which probably would happen
because
for like
now
a year.
you're a producer.
What happened for like? But anyway, it's exciting.
So So that's it.
Yeah, go see those movies if you haven't seen them. Just go watch them all. I think you're more of a Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, really? Am I? I was trying to pull I was trying to pull the Dracula mind meld on you.
I think I'm kind of a Renfield. Yeah, see, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, I guess I am kind of more of a I'm more of a Frankenstein.
You better.
It does. It does fit me better.
You just kind of knock things over and drag your feet. Yeah, totally.
It's true.
Thanks for joining us on the Dream Warrior Review podcast. Don't forget to tell your friends about us, follow us, and, of course, like us. We can be found on Podbean, which is an amazing app, YouTube, Stitcher, Alexa on any pod, iTunes, Google Play. We're on Twitter as well, at DW Review, and, of course, Facebook. You can find us there. You can also email us at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com.